Giants is a good one, but I don't hate them as much.
Well, we're not good enough to hate, though.
That's part of it. Really quick, most hated baseball team is the Yankees. That's easy. But for you, is it the Red Sox?
Red Sox,
okay,
yeah.
That's easy enough. And then I know you hate Notre Dame.
Yeah, and the Lakers for the NBA.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Although, when it began with the Sixers.
Agreed, yeah. Andrew Toney. Jacked up Danny Ainge.
And is there a little bit of Sixers in there from...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Pistons.
Yeah, Bad Boys Pistons. I hated them, too.
Yeah,
Peter,
87.
Did you hear the rumor that the 76ers are changing their name to the 6-7s?
Oh, God.
Peter and I believe that if we keep doing this, it will become uncool fast enough to get it out of the...
Yeah, I'd like it out of my household.
I am sure you would. So we're back with another You Heard It Here with Mike DiMauro and I. And before we get into football and the football rankings of where they are and what the playoffs look like and Mike's poll for the week, it would be, I think, negligent to not take at least a minute to talk about the story that you wrote regarding the recent suspension of 2 high school basketball coaches and I guess it would be non-hiring of a third, I guess, as far as Grasso Tech's concerned. And I read it, and these are, obviously with Game Day, these are people we know very well and programs we know very well. And so I guess all I want to comment on is kind of a bigger 30,000-foot view of this. I think the danger that I have seen, and this has nothing to do with the people involved, the danger that I see is the concept that we have as a society that if we don't like a rule, we can choose to not follow it, and then if we get caught, sort of defend it either through apathy, ignorance, or just, hey, it wasn't a good rule. I was raised, and as a government major, I was raised that if you don't like a rule, you work to change it, but you follow it in the meantime. And I can't imagine if a police officer pulled you over on the highway for not using your turn signal and cutting in and out of traffic, and you said, well, that's a stupid rule anyway. I'm not a big fan of that. And so I think as a society, we have to be careful about what we do to people in positions of authority if we're saying that you just don't have to follow rules you don't like or rules that you think are stupid. So this isn't a comment on whether I think the rule is stupid or not. It's about you have to work to change it, but you can't not follow it. And so I don't think anybody, and this isn't directed directly at the coaches, it's also directed at the people in the comment section who have said, well, it's a stupid rule. That might be true, and then we should try to change it. But while it's a rule, we need to follow it, and I don't think it's a great thing to teach our kids that when they don't like a rule or they think a rule is stupid, they don't have to follow it. Because by that theory, they don't have to follow their parents' or their family's rules or their teachers' rules or police officers' rules or coaches' rules, and I think that's a slippery slope. So I hope it all works out. I have a lot of admiration and respect for the people involved in this, and I hope it all works out once the penalties are weighed and everything. And I know the athletic directors take this very seriously, as do the principals. But overall, that's my biggest thing is this. I don't like the rule either, but we got to follow them, and then we got to work to change them.
If only they took it seriously, Case, because I don't think they do. Because if they did, they would know what the rules are, and they would make sure that their people enforce them. And the idea that I've written about this for a long time, the CIAC has actually did a good thing here in the spring of 2024 to allow summer off-season coaching, and everybody knows it is summer, not fall, summer, and the idea that the coach or coaches or ADs in question are going to feign ignorance now about the rule. I mean, Case, that's up there with, no, really, officer, I only had one beer. I'm sorry. They knew exactly what they were doing, and I hope, and I know that the ADs have said a 2-game suspension. It should be more because they absolutely knew what they were doing.
They thought it was some off-season coaching, not summer.
Yeah.
So I do disagree with you on that. I think that I think 2 games is enough, and I think the athletic directors voted on that, and I think the principals should leave that alone. I do think we have to reserve harsher penalties for things that are malicious and or put kids at risk, and this doesn't quite fall to that. I do think, however, that if I were the athletic director, all eyes on the program moving forward. Now you have to have, you probably might not be able to tiptoe into the gray areas the way you used to, because now we're going to have to be overly above board. I think it was St. Bernard's' Jack Messina that said they're on probation with the CIAC for this. I mean, I don't know if that. I think everybody that's involved in this is going to have the eyes of the CIAC.
They can still play in the state tournament, but one more misstep,
it means
maybe not.
Again, all eyes on. So I don't think the penalty should be harsher. I think the penalty should be this. I also think this, us talking about it, you writing about it, social media talking about it, is a punishment in its own right too. And this will go around the state. But let's be clear: one of these programs lost a game because of it. Other teams not wanting to play them. Like, this does have ramifications and consequences.
And this happens everywhere, not just
it does,
here.
Which is why I also don't necessarily want to come down on like a ton of bricks on our folks when it does happen in other places, and other places are just better at it. And that's my last bit. I can't go to the refrigerator and grab a sandwich without 16 cameras filming it. So why anyone thinks that anything you can do these days isn't going to become immediate public knowledge, that's the other reason. So we just got to do a better job of figuring out how to make these rules work. I happen to think, and this is where I will use, if I have a head coach that I think is a good head coach, I want him as involved as often as possible. Keeping kids involved, letting them make these relationships. So I absolutely think the rule should be looked at. What ends up happening is, again, the schools that have resources tap into programs that aren't their own coaches and use those people to continue to elevate. And then the schools that don't have a lot of resources, who are scrambling to find people to coach their kids anyway, end up either losing out or having to try to circumvent the rules. I'm not advocating the circumvention of the rules. I don't think that's right, and I don't think that's a good message. But I do think this, again, points out the haves and the have-nots when it comes to who has resources and who doesn't. So.
But as you said, Case, it's a rule.
Yep. Gotta follow it.
Not a suggestion.
That's correct. I couldn't agree with him. At that point I agree with. I mean, I think it's a rule that should be examined. I think it's a rule that we should work on amending and or changing. I think that we should be looking at the schools that need to break the rule because they're trying to compete and keep their kids equal to other places and try to find ways to help them without them having to break rules. But for those who did break the rules, I'd like to see you have a conversation with your kids that say you're wrong. So, all right, that's it for basketball. We're going to go on to football real quick. Thank you for all the people who have expressed interest in being my analyst in basketball. We are looking at a lot of names and vetting a lot of people, and we do appreciate the interest. Let's move into the football world. We have one more week of games for those that have Thanksgiving games, which I will say we could do a lot of segments in here. Thanksgiving football and would be one of them. Mike Ellis's answer in my coach's interview this past weekend, where he cited you specifically, he said, Mike DiMauro may disagree with me on this. As a matter of fact, I know he does because he thinks Thanksgiving football should go away.
We've had this conversation.
But his answer was, he brought up something a little different that I hadn't heard before. Aside from the tradition and aside from, because we are one of the last places in the country that still has Thanksgiving football, he says, so this would be my answer, Peter Wappy, to why we have so many playoff teams. And how, here's the answer. Mike Ellis said the reason Thanksgiving football is so awesome is it's a built-in championship game for teams that otherwise would not be able to play in them. And so for teams that are having a down year, you've still got Thanksgiving. And for in a year when Bacon Academy plays Ram and they're both 4 and 5, it's a championship game. I love that. And so let's embrace that and get rid of half the playoff teams that we have so that they don't conflict. Because I actually like that more because every team gets a chance to play a meaningful game.
I actually had a coach tell me this in the last 10 days, let's say. I won't say who. I would rather win on Thanksgiving than make the playoffs.
I think that's true of a lot of
And
our
this coach has a chance.
Yeah.
And I that one kind of, ooh, okay.
So maybe
I need to look at this again.
So maybe we keep Thanksgiving and cut the playoff field in half.
Yeah.
And because I actually and here's the thing. Mike Ellis could probably make me consider virtually anything just because of how thoughtful, how he approached it. And he just the way he approached it and I don't know that there's many people who have a better insight on Thanksgiving rivalries than him. He's got his fingerprints over all of them. So yeah, I took it seriously and it's got me reconsidering. But I definitely think they keep Thanksgiving and get rid of that whole first round of playoffs that are meaningless. But speaking of those meaningless playoffs, let's jump right in. And we're going to start with we're going to take a look at Mike's poll first. We're going to start with your poll because there weren't a lot of changes. But I do see at number 15, the Ledyard Colonels are in the mix.
So, as I said with about Fitch before, do I think Ledyard's the 15th best team in the state? No. But this is more of a salute to I don't know if any team in the state does what it does better than they do. The entire world knows they're going to run the ball, and nobody except one team so far can stop it.
Not only do they know they're going to run the ball, they know 90% of the time who's running the ball.
Yeah. They don't ever, there's no false, that they don't false start. They don't hold. They don't, I was watching the other night, and Stonington actually played a pretty good game. You wouldn't know by the score, but they actually played I thought well, and Ledyard just they're 15 yards down the field before you know who's got the ball, and I'm like, this is really really fun to watch. And this is from a guy, in case we were just talking about it before. I grew up with the Parcells Giants. We are going to run the football, and they do.
Just taking a quick look at your poll, I have to ask, how is a 9-0 Berlin team at 12?
Strength of schedule or lack thereof.
Okay.
So, okay, to me, the most important thing, and my ballot's kind of the same as everybody else's. If somehow we could get New Canaan to lose, Killingly would absolutely be number one. Because if they play hand, this is not just the SS championship. This is 2 versus 3.
Yeah.
And I would say this, and I know we talked about this last week. The Class L field is underwhelming. If New Canaan were to win 21-20 and Killingly won 56-10, I might change my vote.
All right, I'm going to ask some of those questions as we go through the polls. Let's start in Double L, where of note, NFA is in the 8th spot, and if
That's a hell of a story.
And if they win in the 150th matchup, kudos to Michael Farrell at NFA who reached out and let me know that if in the 150th meeting of those two, NFA were to beat New London, they would qualify. They would be at the 8th spot. I don't think they can catch anybody, so I think they'd be locked in at 8. So here's my question to you. I'm going to ask you a question about each of these brackets. More likely, NFA wins a playoff game, or their bus breaks down en route to where they're going to inevitably have to go in the first round.
More likely, their bus breaks down.
But that's not because it's looking like they're going to have to go to Fairfield. That's a hike.
But so week 1 case they lose to Trumbull,
yes.
And I don't think they scored
6 points.
Okay, week 2 Ledyard trampled them.
Yes,
and if you had said to me walking off the field at Ledyard that night, I would. If you had said, and NFA's got a shot to make the playoffs, I would have done the Jim Mora thing. Playoffs.
Yes, you certainly would have after week 3 when they lost to Xavier.
What a great story.
It is a great story. And I kid about the bus breaking down because we talked about the distance that some of our teams have to go. They're going to not only do they have to get the 8 seed, they're going to have to go most likely to Fairfield, which is far. The traffic is always a joy there. But I would just love to see. I don't care what the score is in that game. This is an example of where making the playoffs feels good for a team that might finish at 6-4. So I think Double L's wide open. Any number of teams could win it, and it would be just great if NFA got to the dance, if you will. We won't spend a lot of time in L. New Canaan remains number 1. What is interesting to me about this is that they play Darien, the number 6 team, on Thanksgiving Day. So here's my question. Could they lose to Darien and still finish number 1 in the state?
Oh, I'm sure some people would vote them there, but with Killingly's pedigree and a win over Hand, who in Hand has already beaten Fairfield Prep and St. Joe's, maybe they get a first place vote here and there. But
what if they lose to Darien, by a point in a weird game, and then wreck Class L, and Killingly doesn't beat Hand because Hand doesn't get there for some reason? Could we end up seeing a one-loss New Canaan still?
You could
number 1 over
not
undefeated
on
Killingly?
My poll, but you could.
Okay. Moving on to Double M, where right now at the 7 spot are the 5-4 Fitch Falcons, who are Rasputin at this point. We can't. Mike Ellis has watched them get stabbed, poisoned, shot, and hung, and they're still there. And if they win on Thanksgiving, they're unquestionably in. And we're trying to do the math because there's, I believe, a chance that they could lose on Thanksgiving and still get in. So to examine that, the team at 8, Wethersfield, has a game with Newington, who is 7-2, and ranked 5th. So it is. Let's say that Wethersfield loses that game. Number 9, Massac, is playing Newtown, who is also 7-2. Excuse me. And let's say they lose that game. Number 10 is the Valley Panthers, who plays Griswold. So it's possible that the 8, 9, and 10 teams all lose their Thanksgiving Day games, and I don't think Cheney Tech can catch them.
No.
So it's possible that Fitch. Now, they would need all 3 teams to lose, I think, but it's possible.
It's possible, yes.
So that begs the question. Right now, if things held, they would play at Windsor, but Windsor's going to play Bloomfield, so it's a possibility that's in play. Middletown's got to play Berlin. All these teams are playing each other, so Double M is going to get shaken up. So I can't really predict. Like Fitch with a win, with a loss, they're probably 8. With a win, I don't know where they could end up.
I think they're going to go. I think they're going to make it, win or lose.
So of the teams up top, Wilton, Windsor, and Bunnell, which is the team that Fitch would have the best chance at upsetting in the first round?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me something else.
Yeah, keep you on your toes.
I would say probably Bunnell. And the only reason I say that is because I think Windsor in the CCC and Wilton in the FCAC have played better teams.
Wouldn't that be a fun first-round matchup, Fitch and Bunnell?
With Ty Jenkins, yeah.
New London's Ty Jenkins.
I just wanted to give Mike an opportunity to remind us all what his prediction last week for Fitch's playoff chances
Did
were.
I say no?
You said no.
I said no. Well,
Oops.
I'll do the who was it John Kerry that got accused of flip-flopping, and then at one of the conventions they held up flip-flops. I think that was it. So that's me. So Pete, I look at the math. They're going to make it. I think that they are, win or lose.
I thought you were going to do a Gilda Radner and just say, never mind.
No.
I think it would be fun to see New London's Ty Jenkins and Fitch, a rivalry that he would. I think the downside for Fitch there would be he would very much know how seriously to take them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't maybe no one else is going to have an appreciation the way he would.
Yes, they looked like a playoff team Saturday.
That's the best.
Fitch did.
That poor New London team is a hot mess right now. But that Fitch team,
They played well.
One penalty, one turnover. If they do that, that's going to be interesting. I want to see that on Thanksgiving because I think that would make that an exceptional game.
I got accused. I was talking to Mike Ellis at halftime going into the locker room, and I reminded him that it was a penalty-free first half, and he might have said something about how I just put the
Good
jinx
job.
on him.
Thanks, Mike. Quick shout out, by the way, in Double M to the Valley Panthers, who are if they, lurking, and if they could find a way to beat Griswold, have a legit chance to sneak into the 8th spot. And we don't, because we haven't covered them directly, and because we keep kind of sleeping on them a little bit. They don't get quite the same love, but that team has had a remarkable year. So shout out to them. Moving into M, not much to talk about. St. Joe's is 1, Berlin's 2, Guilford's 3. Of note, Guilford and Hand this week should be a good one. Thanksgiving Day game where I think that's where Hand gets to kind of that's when they get to put the stamp on the season and make everybody look to that possibility. And when we get to the Killingly bracket, we're going to talk about why this game between Guilford and Hand might have implications to Ledyard and Killingly and other teams as well. But of note in Class M rather, the 11 team, who's gonna, if they win on Thanksgiving, is probably gonna finish like at 9. The East Lyme Vikings, and since they've been a bit of a darling of ours, and we've seen how well they've done, a win over Waterford on Thanksgiving might put them right up into that spot where they just missed the playoffs, but what a successful year that would be.
And Tom Klein has just done a great job there because we left them for dead. And I know Pete brought this up last week, but I think it's worth saying again. I don't remember one school having a better overall single sports season than East Lyme in the fall of 25. Yeah. They've won everything. And now football has a chance to finish 6-4.
If they beat Waterford on Thanksgiving Day, so they would have accomplished the following. They would finish 6-4. They would have beaten Waterford on Thanksgiving, which is always a big deal to them. They would have won volleyball. They would have had an all-time season in soccer where they were the ECC champions. They won the state championship, like I said, in volleyball, cross-country state champions, state open, like
ECC
swimming. Like, it is an incredible year.
Amazing. And I mean, Case, we kind of think, well, East Lyme is a big school because it's big for around here. Yeah. It's not.
No. Well, it's in
just a remarkable fall.
It's in Class M.
Yeah.
So great fall. All right, the most exciting division to talk about is Class SS, where Killingly is number 1. And right now, Nonawog is number 2. And I do want to, again, say, Nonawog's, I think, better than – we shouldn't poo-poo them. And they hammered Bacon Academy, and no one has done that. And so – but I think when you're looking at which team doesn't necessarily fit with some of the others, you point to Nonawog. Hand is in the 3 spot, and they've got that Guilford game we mentioned. It's likely that the points they would generate if they beat Guilford could vault them over Nonawog into the 2 spot and slide Nonawog to 3. Why is that important? Ledyard sits at the 6th spot right now, which would give them Nonawog in the first round, which if you want to try to get Ledyard into the mix and win a game, that's the way to do it.
That's the route.
Now, the 7-team New Fairfield and the 8-team Plainville are not likely to lose. They've got a 1-8 and a 3-6 team. But sitting there at 9, the Waterford Lancers. And I can't believe I'm still talking about them. But if they were to beat East Lyme and they were to finish at 6-4, they would be looking to see
it's close.
If something could happen. Could Plainville drop a game to Farmington, and could they somehow slide in? And then, of course, the reward would be that first-round game with Killingly. But again, it's not out of the realm. I mean, Waterford's got to win. They got to beat East Lyme, obviously, but then it could come down to what happens on Thanksgiving Day.
But Case, imagine going to the off season knowing you would have made the playoffs and you would have won your division if you had beaten Woodstock at home
With a lead in the fourth quarter.
I mean, that's just.
So here's what's interesting now. Ellington still has a 6-2 Weaver Hartford Public and a 7-1 Rockville. If Ledyard's going to jump someone, Ellington's the team that they're most likely going to jump, presuming that Ledyard beats Fitch, because you got to start there. If Ledyard loses to Fitch, they're probably going to slide back. I don't think they could slide out.
No, I think they're in.
But they'll slide back. And here's the thing. If you slide back to 7 and Nanawag stays 2, or if you slide back to 8, you get Killingly. If you slide to, so it's going to be interesting. But I think if Ledyard were to jump Ellington and finish in that 5 spot, the likelihood is they're going to see Jonathan Law in the first round. That would be a very interesting game.
That's a competitive game, yeah.
What fascinates me is that Chad Neal said that Law was the biggest, most physical team they had played all year. Not the best matchup for Ledyard.
For Ledyard.
And Law stops the run. That would be a fascinating game. Yeah.
Ledyard did complete a pass last week.
I'm going to finish with that question. So, here's your which is more likely to happen? Killingly finishes as the number 1 team in the state, or loses to a team other than Hand.
Well, they're not losing to anybody else but Hand.
So then you say that finishing number 1 in the state is the more likely of those two things.
Yes.
Okay.
And I did like the fact that because of what we said here last week, when that pass was completed after he came off the field, Jackson Favory said to me, "See, we can throw."
All right, so I'm gonna go on the fly right now. I'm gonna make up. This is not about. I'm gonna make up a Thanksgiving Day one for the Ledyard Fitch game. All right, ready? More likely. All right, I'm gonna do it this way. On Thanksgiving, which will be higher, the number of 100-yard rushers between the two teams, or the number of completed passes between the two teams?
100-yard rushers. Oh, no, Case. I got to take that back because I forgot. Ledyard's pass defense is awful.
So you think Fitch will throw it a few times?
Fitch will throw, and they can't. Listen, we saw it Saturday.
Yeah. There's a chance, though, that there could be 4 100-yard rushers on Thanksgiving Day.
I don't know if I just covered that game or game day was there. I think game day was there. We have not had many kids play better on game day this year than Cameron Lee Fry. He's played 2
brilliant
straight
games.
A's.
And this last week
we did have that one on, right?
The last week was insane though. This last week with 2 touchdowns, a 2-point conversion, 2 interceptions. Yeah, that was unbelievable. Peter, I could see the wheels turning over there.
Well, you were predicting a possibility of 4 100-yard rushers, and I could see Ledyard throwing 1 pass and Fitch throwing 4.
It's close though, isn't it?
Maybe, but Pete, their pass defense was awful.
All right, so I'll amend it this way: higher number of total touchdowns or number of completed passes.
Oh, total touchdown. There'll be more. Thanks to that game, could be 48 to 42.
Well, then you're not speaking well of Ledyard's chances in the state playoffs if they face a team that can throw a football.
Yeah, no. I mean, the other night, Ben Thomas at Stonington threw for 221 yards, and I thought they left a few plays on the field.
So our final bracket, Class S, has no one currently from the ECC in it.
Killing me.
Sitting at not Ness.
Yes, no, Griswold, killing me.
Oh, killing me! I thought you said Killingly.
Oh no, they're killing me.
Well,
after
that's
last
because
week.
Peter Wappy. What was Mike's prediction last week about Griswold?
Best chance to
make a
spring an upset in the playoffs. Now I don't think that they're going to get
there.
No.
Not best chance to make an upset.
Oh, to win it?
Dark horse candidate to be a state champion.
And now they're not even going to make it.
Well, they are at number 9. First thing they have to do is beat Valley, which, again, after their last week's dud, they still got to go do that. Problem is, the 7 teams probably got a chance to lose. 7 team is Bloomfield, and they might lose to Windsor. I would say they're the underdog. But I don't think Griswold can catch them. They need the 8 seed to lose. That's Ansonia. The good news is it's Thanksgiving game against Naugatuck, which is always a rivalry. The bad news is if you're trying to make book on Ansonia losing in football, you're probably not doing too well. I would never bet against Ansonia in a big football game.
Right. And to tell you the truth, Case, my interest in this game now is none of the basketball players get hurt.
Right. So the last interesting thing of S, and this is a Peter Wappy special. Woodland and Seymour play each other on Thanksgiving, and they're the number 1 and number 2 seeds, and they're both undefeated. Going back in time, before we expanded the playoffs to include 600 teams, what would this game have garnered for both attention and in an audience? A 9-0 Woodland, a 9-0 Seymour, going back in the day thinking like loser may not get in to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I mean, how that would have been the game of the year, and it doesn't really mean much.
And to add to that, both undefeated and neither in Mike's ballot.
You know why? Because the NVL is a lot like the ECC, not very good.
So a 2-loss ECC team over an undefeated NVL team.
That's a what do you call it? A regional. What's the right word?
Homerism?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
yes.
And you know that nobody from the NVL is going to be calling you tomorrow morning.
Well, with the way it's going, I who knows.
So we've got playoffs coming. Thanksgiving is going to determine a lot. Locally, obviously, Thanksgiving, a lot of great games. Are we ready to announce officially where we're going to be on Thanksgiving? So on Thanksgiving, now I want to again remind everyone that factors 1 and 2 in where we do games are: is there room for us in the press box, and is the technology stable enough to guarantee a good live stream? Okay. We will be at Ledyard High School for the Ledyard-Fitch game, not only because it's a great game, but because criteria 1 and 2 both get met. So we will not be we'll be crowded in the Ledyard press box, but we will be at Ledyard High School. And that's going to be a game where I think it's going to be a great game. But when the game is over, you're going to be buzzing about the scores around the state and where Ledyard ends up, where Fitch ends up. That's going to be very interesting. Both teams are immediately going to be looking to the scores.
We're also going there because I think Ledyard has the number 1 food stand in the league.
Definitely, I believe we did a hot take. Peter Wappy has his own.
Let's not count out Montville on Tuesday night.
No, Rocky Stone with the burgers, but
proximity to the press box.
We haven't been there yet this year, so.
So I walked by the closed concession stand yesterday after practice and had the Pavlovian response.
So quick emergency top 5 ECC or area concession stands. I will say Valley gets put in there from my time in Valley. But here's the team that gets voted just out of the top 5 is the reason Valley gets their spot. Killingly's got a great concession stand and the best setup for any high school football game. Except if I want to go get food at the concession stand, I need a cab.
Yep.
Or I got an Uber to the concession stand because it's just far away from the press box. So that's its only knock. Great concession stand. So Valley gets in. Montville for sure. Ledyard for sure.
Fitch.
Thank
you,
yes,
Fitch.
Fitch.
For
I
sure.
was waiting for that.
I forgot
the burger smell.
Oh, the burger. Yeah, 100%.
Ridiculous.
I'm open to the last spot. I feel like. I feel like it could be a handful of teams there in the last spot.
Nothing's coming to mind though. I have to say, nothing else really.
I have not gone to the. I haven't been to the. Same thing for Griswold, is proximity for me.
Stonington.
I would say Stonington
Yes.
gets the 5th spot.
Stonington.
Solid. You've
Good
had
burger.
You've had
Yeah.
some good stuff at it. Peter and I have always partaked on our way. Now, but that's again, proximity matters for us. Griswold's a little bit far. Killingly's a little bit far from the press box. Some of these others, you have to walk right by them.
East Lyme's a hike.
East Lyme, same thing. Yeah, same thing. And then that's the whole thing. If I have to hike it to get it, it makes it harder for me.
So Montville's got sometimes homemade mac and cheese.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
And Ledyard's got that chicken sandwich that's outstanding.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, we could have we should do this next year. Number one, we should do like a
Hospitality.
contest.
The hospitality plate is always appreciated. So, Thanksgiving Day we'll be at Ledyard. Shout out to Ledyard High School because I already know ahead of time that Mr. Bunicor always provides us with delicious treats on Thanksgiving. So, thank you very much. So, we will not be doing power rankings next week. I'll be doing after the season is done. I'll be doing final power rankings, which will include postseason play and compare them to my opening power rankings of the year to see where teams ended up. And you and I, once Thanksgiving is over, will come back and do a playoff preview once the playoff brackets are set. So next week, Thanksgiving week, nothing, as we have a game Tuesday from Montville and a game Thursday from Ledyard. So next week, 2 game day broadcasts, but no daytime stuff from us.
Right.
All right.
So probably the quarters are Tuesday the 29th, if I have that right. So we probably do it Monday.